So whether you're a manager trying to light a fire under your team, a business student, or really a leader of any kind, understanding what actually drives people is, well, it's pretty much a superpower. Today, we're diving into the essential guide to the classic theories of motivation.
I mean, it's the million-dollar question, isn't it? What is it that gets people out of bed in the morning? What makes them go that extra mile at work? And what makes them feel truly connected to what they're doing? Well, today, we're going to unpack the classic theories that try to answer that very question.
Okay, so to get our bearings, it helps to know that all of these theories pretty much fall into two big buckets. First, you've got content theories. These are all about the what. They focus on the fundamental needs we all share. Then there are the process theories, which are all about the how. They explain the mental gymnastics we go through when we decide to actually do something. So, let's kick things off with that first group, the content theories. These are the big foundational ideas that look at the core needs, the desires, and the drivers that are basically hardwired into all of us. And of course, we have to start with the most famous one of them all, Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You've probably seen this pyramid before, right? Maslow's idea was that our needs are stacked. You start at the bottom with the absolute basics, physiological stuff like food, water, and shelter. Once that's covered, you move up a level to safety. Then comes social belonging, being part of a group. After that, it's esteem, the need for respect and recognition. And only when all of that is in place can we really focus on the very top, self-actualization, which is all about becoming the best possible version of ourselves.
And here is the key practical takeaway from Maslow. Once someone's basic salary and job security are handled, just throwing more money at them starts to have less and less effect. The real motivational juice shifts up the pyramid to things like public recognition for a job well done, or getting the chance to lead a cool new project. Now, building on Maslow's work, a guy named Clayton Alderfer came along with a more modern and frankly more flexible take called ERG theory. He looked at Maslow's rigid step-by-step pyramid and thought, that doesn't always match how people really are. So he streamlined it into just 3 core groups.
Those 3 needs are existence, which covers our basic material stuff, relatedness, which is our desire for good relationships, and growth, our need for personal development. Now, here's where Alderfer added 2 really clever twists. First, unlike Maslow's strict ladder, Alderfer said multiple needs can motivate us at the very same time. Second, he came up with this frustration regression idea. If you're getting frustrated trying to achieve a higher level need, like growth, you might actually slide back down and focus way more intensely on a lower level one, like building friendships at work.
All right, next up, David McClelland came up with his fascinating idea. What if our most powerful motivators aren't something we're born with, but are actually things we learn from our culture and our life experiences? He pinpointed 3 big ones. First is the need for achievement, or NAC for short. This is that internal fire to take on tough challenges, to set and smash difficult goals, and to just constantly find a better way to do things. People who are high in this love feedback, and you often see them in entrepreneurship, where their hard work is directly tied to their success.
Next, there's the need for affiliation, or NF. This is all about human connection. People with a high need for affiliation really value being part of a group. They want to be liked, and they make amazing team players because they thrive in cooperative settings, not competitive ones.
And number 3 is the need for power, or NPOW. Now, I know power can sound like a dirty word, but McClelland saw it as the desire to have an impact and to influence others. A healthy need for power isn't about dominating people. It's about wanting to coach, guide, and lead a team to a shared victory. This is the main driver you see in the most effective managers.
Okay, our final content theory comes from Frederick Herzberg, and honestly, this one's a total game changer. He found that the things that make you dissatisfied at work are completely different from the things that make you satisfied. He called the first group hygiene factors, things like salary, company policies, and working conditions. Fixing these doesn't make people motivated, it just stops them from being unhappy. Real, true motivation, he found, comes from what he called motivator factors, things like achievement, recognition, responsibility, and personal growth. So think about that. A great salary might keep you from quitting, but it's not what will make you love your job.
All right, so we've got a handle on what people want. Let's switch gears. We're now moving into the process theories, which explain that mental math we all do, whether we know it or not, before we decide to take action. This is the how of motivation.
First up is Victor Vroom's expectancy theory, which is captured in this beautifully simple formula. He said your motivation is basically 3 beliefs all multiplied together. And because it's multiplication, if any one of these 3 things is a 0, well, your entire motivation level drops to 0 too.
The first part of that equation is valence. This one's easy. How much do you actually want the reward that's on the table? Is it something you truly value, or do you kind of not care?
The second part is expectancy. This is all about self-belief. Do you actually believe that if you put in the effort, you can hit the goal? If you think the task is impossible from the start, your motivation is gone.
And finally, the third piece is instrumentality. This is all about trust. Do you believe that if you succeed, the company will actually keep its promise and give you the reward? If your boss has a history of breaking promises, instrumentality goes right out the window.
Okay, next, let's look at J. Stacy Adams' equity theory. This theory says that we are all deeply, deeply motivated by a sense of fairness. We are constantly, often without even realizing it, calculating a ratio of our outcomes, like pay and perks, to our inputs, like our effort and time. And then we compare our ratio to what we think other people's ratios are.
When we feel like our ratio is worse than someone else's, it creates this tension that we just have to resolve. And this leads to some really predictable behaviors. We might start slacking off and reduce our effort. Or maybe we'll ask for a raise. We might even just change who we're comparing ourselves to, try to rationalize why it's not so bad. Or, in the worst cases, we just quit. Our final process theory is from Edwin Locke, and this one is so incredibly practical. Locke discovered that the simple act of setting specific and challenging goals is a huge motivator all by itself. But there are rules. Vague goals like just do your best are totally useless. Goals have to be specific, and they need to be difficult, but not impossible. The person also has to actually accept the goal as their own. And critically, they need regular feedback so they know how they're doing.
So wow, that was a lightning-fast tour through 7 major theories. Let's pull it all together now into a simple toolkit that you can actually start using.
This table really brings it all home. The content theories, Maslow, Hertzberg, and the others, they give you the what. They're like a menu of human needs. Then you have the process theories, Vroom, Adams, Locke. They give you the how. They're the recipes for turning those needs into focused action and great performance.
Look, you don't need to memorize every single detail here. The real power comes from just understanding the core principles. Seriously, if you just take 1 or 2 of these ideas and start applying them with your team or even just for yourself, you will see a huge difference in engagement and results.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer. So the question I'll leave you with is this. Which one of these theories gave you that big aha moment? Was it Hertzberg's wild idea that being satisfied and being dissatisfied are 2 totally different things? Or maybe it was Vroom's slick little formula for motivation? Let us know. Thanks for watching.